The Titan's shadow, the US Goliath, hung in space like a metallic mountain, its angular hull stretching nearly 3 kilometers from bow to stern. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the reinforced viewport. She had commanded more successful military operations than any other officer in the United Earth Navy. Her weathered face bore the marks of 2 decades in space, and her gray-streaked hair was pulled back in the regulation style, but nothing, in her experience, had prepared her for this moment. "Admiral, we're receiving the final intelligence briefing from Command," announced Commander Marcus Webb, her tactical officer. Webb was 10 years younger than Chen, with sharp features and calculating eyes that never missed a detail. He had served under her for 5 years, and she trusted his judgment implicitly. "Put it through, Marcus." Chen turned to face the main display as the transmission began, the holographic image of Fleet. Admiral Rodriguez materialized before them. "Admiral Chen, as of 0800 hours, our deep space monitoring stations detected a fleet of unknown vessels entering the Kepler 442 system. Initial scans suggest advanced technology beyond our current capabilities. The Goliath is humanity's strongest warship, and you are our most experienced commander. You will represent Earth in this first contact." Scenario. Chen nodded grimly. The Goliath was indeed a monster of engineering, armed with plasma cannons that could crack a moon, missile batteries capable of saturating an entire solar system, and armor plating that had never been breached in combat. Its crew of 8,000 represented the best humanity had to offer. "Dr. Vasquez," Chen called to her science officer. Dr. Elena Vasquez looked up from her console, her dark eyes bright with intelligence. As a xenolinguist and theoretical physicist, she would be crucial if communication proved possible. "What do we know about their technology?" "Their energy signatures are unlike anything we've encountered," Vasquez replied, her voice carrying a slight accent from her Mexican heritage. "The propulsion systems seem to manipulate space-time itself, and their hulls appear to be composed of materials that don't exist on our periodic table. They're definitely not from around here." "Time to intercept?" Chen asked. 6 hours at maximum." "Burn," Webb answered. "But Admiral, I should mention that Captain Morrison's fighter squadrons are ready for deployment. The Nighthawk pilots have been drilling non-stop since we left Earth." Captain Jake Morrison commanded the Goliath's complement of 300 fighter craft. Morrison was a former test pilot who had volunteered for the most dangerous missions. Throughout his career, his pilots called him Iceman because of his calm demeanor under pressure. As the Goliath accelerated toward the alien fleet, Chen gathered her senior staff in the war room. The circular chamber was dominated by a massive holographic display showing their tactical situation. Red markers indicated the alien vessels, while blue showed human positions. "Gentlemen, lady," Chen began, "we're about to make history. Our mission parameters are clear. Establish contact, determine intentions, and protect human interests. The Goliath represents not just Earth's military might, but our entire civilization. We will not fire first, but we will be prepared for any outcome." Webb leaned forward, studying the alien formations. "Admiral, their fleet composition is interesting. 7 vessels total, with one significantly larger than the others. Classic command structure, but their spacing suggests they're either very confident or very nervous." "Nervous about what?" Morrison asked, his weathered face showing concern. "About us," Vasquez interjected. "Think about it from their perspective. They've probably been observing our expansion into space, watching us build weapons and fortify our colonies. The Goliath isn't exactly subtle. She was right. The Goliath was designed to intimidate as much as destroy. Its hull was covered in aggressive angles and weapon ports, making it look like a predator even when dormant. Every line of the ship suggested violence barely held in check. 4 hours later, they made contact. The alien fleet had positioned itself in a defensive formation around a gas giant. Their ships were elegant where the Goliath was brutal, with smooth curves and surfaces that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. The largest vessel was roughly the same size as the Goliath, but where humanity's flagship was all sharp edges and obvious weapons, the alien ship appeared almost organic. "Incoming transmission," announced Communications Officer Liu. It's not radio or any frequency we recognize. They're using gravitational waves to carry the signal. "Can you decode it?" Chen asked. "Dr. Vasquez is working on it now," Liu replied. Minutes passed in tense silence. Every crew member knew that the next few moments would determine whether humanity's first contact would be peaceful or catastrophic. The bridge was filled with the quiet hum of electronics and the whispered conversations of officers coordinating their departments. "I've got something," Vasquez announced. "Their mathematics are similar to ours, which is encouraging. They're transmitting what appears to be peaceful intentions and a request for dialogue." "Response?" Chen asked. "I'm working on a reply using the same gravitational wave modulation. It should convey our peaceful intentions and willingness to talk." The response came quickly, and this time it included visual data. The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of the alien command vessel. The being that appeared was tall and slender, with 4 arms and skin that shifted between blue and silver. Its face was triangular, with large eyes that seemed to contain swirling galaxies. "Greetings, beings of the third planet," the alien said, its voice synthesized by the translation system. "I am Zeth Prime Corvain of the Zephyrian Collective. We have observed your expansion among the stars with great interest." Chen stepped forward. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen, representing the United Earth Navy and all humanity. We welcome this opportunity for peaceful contact between our species." Corvain's expression was difficult to read, but there seemed to be something calculating in those swirling eyes. "Your vessel is most impressive, Admiral Chen. It is clearly designed for warfare. Are you here to threaten us?" "The Goliath is our finest ship," Chen replied carefully, "but we come in peace. Our weapons are defensive, meant to protect our people and interests. Yet you bring only warships to this meeting," Corvain observed. "Where are your diplomats, your merchants, your explorers?" Webb muttered under his breath, "Because we don't know if you're here to trade or to conquer." Unfortunately, the translation system picked up his comment and broadcast it to the alien ship. Corvain's expression darkened, and the other aliens, visible in the background, began moving with obvious agitation. "So you admit you view us as potential conquerors," Corvain said, his voice taking on a harder edge. "And you respond by bringing your largest warship as a show of force." Chen felt the situation slipping away. "Zeth Prime Corvain, Commander Webb's comment does not represent our official position. We seek peaceful relations based on mutual respect and benefits, yet your ship powers its weapons even as we speak," Corvain replied. "Our sensors detect the energy buildup in your plasma cannons." Chen spun toward Webb, who was already checking his console. "Admiral, it's standard protocol. The weapons are powered but not targeted or charged for firing." "To us," Corvain continued, This appears to be preparation for attack. The collective has encountered other species who had claimed peaceful intentions while preparing for war. We have no intention of attacking, Chen insisted. Our weapons are powered for defensive purposes only. Then power them down, Corvain demanded. Prove your peaceful intentions. Chen hesitated. Powering down the weapons would leave the Goliath vulnerable if this was a trap, but refusing might be seen as confirmation of hostile intent. Admiral Webb said quietly, I recommend against it. We don't know their capabilities or intentions, but if we don't, Vasquez added, we might be starting a war over a misunderstanding. Before Chen could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Admiral, shouted the sensor operator. Multiple energy spikes from the alien fleet. They're powering weapons. On the screen, Corvain's image flickered as his ship shook. Admiral. Chen, our long-range sensors have detected additional human vessels approaching. You have brought a fleet while claiming to seek peace. Chen's blood ran cold. What additional vessels? We came alone. Webb was already pulling up the sensor data. Admiral, it's the merchant convoy from the Proxima colony. They're 3 hours out, but the alien sensors are more advanced than ours. Corvain, those are civilian ships carrying supplies to our colonies, Chen explained urgently. They pose no threat. Civilian vessels with military escorts, Corvain replied. Warships accompanying your merchants, while your largest battleship engages in peaceful negotiations. The translation was missing the nuance. What appeared to be a coordinated military operation was actually a coincidence of timing. But the Zephyrians, already suspicious of human intentions, saw only confirmation of their fears. Admiral Morrison's voice came over the comm. My fighters are reporting that the alien ships are deploying some kind of energy field around our position. It looks like they're trying to contain us. Chen realized with growing horror that both sides were reacting to perceived threats that didn't actually exist. The humans saw the energy field as preparation for attack, while the aliens saw the powered weapons and approaching convoy as evidence of human duplicity. All ships, this is Admiral Chen, she broadcast on all frequencies. Stand down all weapons. Repeat, stand down all weapons. But it was too late. One of the Goliath's junior gunners, seeing the energy field intensifying around the ship and fearing an imminent attack, fired a defensive burst from his plasma cannon. The bolt streaked across space, impacting on the alien energy field and causing it to flare brilliantly. To the Zephyrins, this looked like a deliberate attack. Corvain's image disappeared from the screen, replaced by tactical displays as the alien fleet opened fire. Beams of coherent energy lanced out from their elegant ships, striking the Goliath's shields with tremendous force. The ship shuddered under the impact, and emergency lighting flickered on throughout the bridge. Shields down to 70%, Webb reported. All batteries return fire. Belay that, Chen shouted. This is a misunderstanding. Continue attempting communication. But her words were lost in the chaos as more alien weapons opened fire. The Goliath's armor began to glow under the sustained bombardment and damage. Reports flooded in from all sections of the ship. Morrison's voice crackled over the comm, Admiral, requesting permission to launch fighters. The alien vessels are targeting our weapon systems. Chen watched as one of the smaller alien ships broke formation and began an attack run on the Goliath's main battery. She realized that her choice was no longer between war and peace, but between fighting and dying. Permission granted, she said grimly. All units, engage at will. This is not the first contact we wanted, but it's the one we've got. The Goliath's weapon systems came alive with deadly purpose. Plasma cannons that could melt asteroids opened fire, sending bolts of superheated matter racing toward the alien. Fleet missile batteries launched salvos of hunter-killer warheads that weaved through space with predatory intelligence. The battle for humanity's future had begun. Asterisk, when Titans clashed, the space around Kepler 442's gas giant erupted into a maelstrom of energy and destruction. The Goliath's massive form was wreathed in the glow of its shields as alien energy beams hammered against the protective barriers. Each impact sent shockwaves through the ship's hull, making the deck plates vibrate under the crew's feet. Damage. Report, Admiral Chen called out over the noise of battle. Forward, shields down to 40%, Webb replied, his hands dancing over his console. Port armor is heating up, but holding. The aliens are using some kind of adaptive targeting system. Each shot is more accurate than the last. Dr. Vasquez looked up from her science station, her face pale but determined. Admiral, I'm analyzing their weapon signatures. Their energy beams are actually manipulating matter at the quantum level. They're not just hitting our shields, they're trying to destabilize the shield generators themselves. Can you counter it? Chen asked. Maybe. Give me a few minutes to modify our shield harmonics. Captain Morrison's fighter squadrons had launched and were now engaging the smaller alien vessels. His voice crackled over the com. Admiral, these bogies are fast and maneuverable, but they seem to be having trouble tracking our fighters. I think their sensors are calibrated for larger targets. Chen saw the opportunity immediately. Morrison, keep them busy. Draw their fire while we concentrate on their capital ship. The Goliath's main guns swiveled toward the largest Zephyrian vessel, the one that had carried Zeth Prime Corvin. Chen hesitated for just a moment, remembering the beings. Words about peaceful contact before the tactical situation demanded action. Full broadside on the command ship, she ordered. The Goliath unleashed its fury. 6 plasma cannons fired simultaneously, their combined energy output equivalent to a small star's corona. The beams struck the alien ship's flowing hull, and for a moment it seemed as if they had no effect. Then the alien vessel's surface began to ripple and change, absorbing the energy and redirecting it harmlessly into space. What the hell? Webb muttered. Their hull is adaptive. It's literally evolving to counter our weapons. Then we'll have to evolve faster, Chen replied grimly. All batteries, random frequency modulation. Don't give them time to adapt. The Goliath's weapons began firing in chaotic patterns, each shot using different energy frequencies and intensities. Some were absorbed, but others broke through, leaving glowing scars on the alien hull. The Zephyrian ship responded by changing its configuration entirely. Sections of its hull folding inward to reveal weapon systems that glowed with ominous energy incoming, shouted the sensor operator. The alien return fire was unlike anything in human experience. Instead of discrete energy beams, they launched what appeared to be living matter that twisted through space like serpents. When these creatures struck the Goliath's shields, they began eating through the energy barriers, dissolving them at the molecular level. Shields compromised, Webb reported. Those things are some kind of engineered organism. They're feeding on our shield matrix. Vasquez was frantically working at her console. I've got it. The organisms are silicon-based. If we can flood the shield matrix with carbon compounds, we can poison them. Do it, Chen ordered. The ship's life support system began venting oxygen. and carbon dioxide into the shield generators, creating a toxic environment for the alien organisms. The living weapons withered and died, allowing the shields to regenerate. But the process had taken precious time. More alien ships were closing in, their elegant forms dancing through space as they coordinated their attack. Morrison's fighters were holding their own, but they were vastly outnumbered. Several human pilots had already been lost, their ships torn apart by weapons that seemed to anticipate their every move. Admiral Morrison's voice was strained. "I'm losing birds out. Here, request permission to fall back to the ship." "Negative," Chen replied. "Keep them off our flanks. We need every second." She turned to her communications officer. "Any luck re-establishing contact with their command ship?" "No response, Admiral. I think we're committed to this course now." The battle raged for what felt like hours but was actually only minutes. The Goliath's superior firepower was matched by the aliens' advanced technology and superior numbers. Damage reports flooded in from all sections of the ship. Hull breaches, system failures, casualties mounting. Then something unexpected happened. Long-range sensors detected new contacts emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the system. But these weren't more Zephyrian ships or the human convoy. These vessels were different entirely, their hulls black as the void itself and covered in spines that seemed to absorb light. "Admiral," the sensor operator called out, "we've got 12. No, 15 new contacts. Configuration unknown, but they're heading this way at high velocity." Dr. Vasquez looked at her readings and her face went white. "Admiral, those energy signatures, they're not like anything we've seen. The quantum resonance patterns suggest these ships are partially phased outside normal spacetime." The alien communication system suddenly crackled to life. Corvain's image reappeared on the main screen, but his background showed a ship in chaos. Smoke and emergency lighting filled the alien bridge, and several crew members appeared to be injured. Human Admiral Corvain said urgently, "We must cease hostilities immediately. The Void Reapers have found us." "The what?" Chen demanded. "Ancient enemies of all life. They consume entire star systems, leaving only empty space behind. We thought we had escaped them, but they have tracked us here." Webb looked at his tactical display. "Admiral, the new contacts are targeting both our ships and the Zephyrian fleet. Whatever they are, they're not friendly to either of us." As if to emphasize the point, the lead Void Reaper ship fired a weapon that defied description. A beam of absolute darkness lanced out, striking one of the smaller Zephyrian vessels. The alien ship didn't explode or burn. It simply ceased to exist, leaving behind an area of space that seemed colder and emptier than the vacuum around it. "Dear God," Chen whispered, "what kind of weapon can unmake matter itself? The kind that ended the predecessor civilization?" Corvain replied, "Admiral Chen, our peoples may be enemies, but the Reapers are enemies of existence itself. We must work together or we will all die." Chen looked around her bridge. Her crew was battered and exhausted from the battle with the Zephyrians, but she could see in their eyes the same realization she had come to. Sometimes survival required strange alliances. "All units, cease fire on Zephyrian ships," she ordered. "Target the new contacts. Morrison, form up with whatever alien fighters are still operational." The transition from enemies to allies happened with surprising speed. Both fleets had been bloodied by their conflict, but they were about to face something far worse. The Void Reapers moved through space like shadows given form, their weapons turning matter into nothingness and leaving reality itself scarred in their wake. Corvain, Chen said. What can you tell us about their capabilities? They exist partially outside our dimension, the alien leader replied. Physical weapons have limited effect, but they are vulnerable to certain quantum resonance frequencies. Your ship's plasma cannons, if properly modified, could disrupt their phase variation. Vasquez was already working on the modifications. Admiral, I can reconfigure our weapons, but it will take time, and we'll need the Zephyrian ships to provide covering fire while we make the adjustments. Agreed, Corvain said. My remaining ships will shield you while you adapt your weapons. But be warned, the Reapers learn quickly. Whatever advantage we gain will be temporary. The combined human Zephyrian fleet formed a defensive formation as the Void Reapers closed in. The alien ships, so beautiful and elegant in their original configuration, now showed their true nature as weapons of war. Their hulls flowed like liquid, forming defensive barriers and weapon arrays that blazed with exotic energy. The first Void Reaper to come within range fired its entropy beam at the Goliath. But instead of the ship's hull, the weapon struck a Zephyrian energy shield that had been projected around the human vessel. The shield held for several seconds before collapsing, buying precious time. Modifications complete, Vasquez announced. Weapons are now calibrated to Zephyrian specifications. All batteries target the lead Reaper, Chen ordered. The Goliath plasma cannons fired, their energy now modulated to the quantum frequencies Corvain had provided. The beams struck the Void Reaper ship, and for the first time, the dark vessel showed signs of damage. Sections of its hull flickered between dimensions, unable to maintain their phase variance. It's working, Webb shouted. But look at the others. They're already adapting. The remaining Void Reapers were modifying their phase patterns, making themselves immune to the quantum disruption. But the combined fleet had bought time, and both human and Zephyrian crews were learning to work together with increasing effectiveness. Morrison's fighters had joined with alien equivalents, creating mixed squadrons that combined human aggression with Zephyrian precision. His voice came over the cum. Admiral, these alien pilots know how to fight. We're holding the line, but barely. The battle raged on, with both fleets taking heavy casualties. But slowly, through cooperation and shared sacrifice, they were learning to hurt the Void Reapers. Each time the enemy adapted, the Allies found new tactics, new weapon configurations, new ways to strike at beings that seemed to exist beyond the normal laws of physics. In the end, it was not superior firepower that won the day, but something the Void Reapers had not expected, the willingness of two species to die for each other. When a group of Reapers surrounded a damaged Zephyrian ship, human fighters sacrificed themselves to break the attack. When Void Reapers targeted the Goliath's wounded sections, Zephyrian vessels interposed themselves, taking damage meant for their new allies, the surviving Void Reapers. Perhaps recognizing that this system would cost them more than they could gain, retreated into hyperspace. They left behind a battlefield littered with the wreckage of ships from 3 different species, and the beginning of an alliance that would reshape the galaxy. As the immediate threat passed, Chen found herself once again facing Corvain on the main screen. Both commanders looked exhausted, their ships scarred by battle, but there was something different in the aliens' swirling eyes. Respect, perhaps, or recognition. Admiral Chen, Corvain said, "It appears that first contact between our species has been somewhat more eventful than either of us anticipated." Chen managed a tired smile. That's one way to put it. Corvain, about the misunderstanding that started this. There was no misunderstanding, the Zephyrian leader interrupted. We were both doing what we thought necessary to protect our people. The fault lies with those who would exploit such caution for their own ends. The Void Reapers have used this tactic before, engineering conflicts between species they wish to weaken. Then this was all planned. The Reapers' arrival was no coincidence. They drove us toward your space, knowing that first contact would likely result in conflict. They intended to harvest the survivors of whatever battle resulted. Webb looked up from his damage assessments. Admiral, preliminary casualty reports are coming in. We lost almost a quarter of our crew, but we gave better than we got. And working with the Zephyrians, we learned things about space combat that will revolutionize our tactics. Chen nodded, then turned back to Corvain. What happens now? Our species have fought, bled together, and survived together. That has to mean something. It means, Corvain replied, that when the Void Reapers return in greater numbers, they will face not two separate species, but an alliance forged in battle. Your people's adaptability and our technological knowledge could be the key to stopping them. As the Goliath and the surviving Zephyrian ships began the long journey home, Chen reflected on the strange twists of fate that had brought them to this point. Humanity had sought peaceful first contact and found war instead. But from that war had come something even more valuable, proof that different species could work together, fight together, and perhaps survive together in a galaxy full of threats they couldn't face alone. The real test would come later, when both species had to explain to their governments why their first contact had resulted in an alliance, born from mutual necessity. But Chen was confident that the bonds forged in battle would prove stronger than political concerns. After all, when you've watched aliens die to protect your ship and sacrificed your own people to save theirs, traditional diplomatic protocols seem rather beside the point. The universe was vast, dark, and filled with dangers that neither species could face alone. But together, they just might have a chance. And in the depths of space, the Void Reapers were already planning their return, not knowing that their greatest enemies had just become each other's greatest allies.